All right, guys, so today we're gonna talk about how you can address your shortcomings so that when you go to spots in the future, you're able to actually skate them and not feel discouraged because you can't, you aren't able to access that trick with that speed, with the pop, or because you lack pop, or just lack the awareness of what that skate spot might require from you. Sometimes you're at the skate park and everything feels comfortable, you have your tricks on lock, but that's really just because you aren't challenging what you already know. And what happens if you're someone who's going to skate different parks or even a street spot, you're gonna find yourself challenged because there's more factors that you have to consider than just doing the trick you're comfortable with. You might need to go faster for a bigger or wider set of stairs. You might need to learn how to control your breathing because you have limited time, you're getting kicked out, or you just have a shorter period of time to skateboard. So for these reasons, what I'm proposing is that you gotta think about what are some of those shortcomings that might appear when you're skating different spots. Are you comfortable doing your tricks with speed? Are you able to control your breath? And if not, you might want to think about that when you're just skating flat, or the tricks or the skate spots you already skate at a regular basis. So let's say I'm skating flat, right? I can do kick flips very comfortably, And one way I would think about addressing the shortcoming is by asking myself, can I do this kickflip with increased speed? So can I drop down and do the kickflip? If not, that may be something I want to address a bit more when I'm practicing this trick. It's a small detail, a small factor you might need to consider, but that that preparation goes a long way when you're met with that factor at a different skate park or a different spot. So that's just one example, but another one would be, are you able to do kickflips with more consistency, while still controlling your breath, right? So can I do 10 in a row and not fatigue, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. How do you feel after that? Are you able to, not completely gas out after? Can you talk? I'm kind of gassing out. Can you reset yourself so that if you need to practice more, you can, right? Learn, you gotta experience these things before. You gotta experience these things before in a setting that's a bit more controlled, so that when you go to another setting that you might not have full control over, like a street spot, you're a bit more prepared. So I may need to do more consistent flips so that I can actually land my trick in the future. So to address that shortcoming of making sure I'm consistent, I might, as soon as I feel reset, I'm gonna try to do 10 more kickflips and see how I do in that sense, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So I did 10 more. And something I'm feeling right now is that fatigue, is that feeling that I need a bit more rest, and that I might not be as prepared as I would think to skate a bigger set of stairs at the moment, because you know, I need more energy to be able to skate a bigger set of stairs. And so the way I would be addressing that shortcoming is by making sure I just practice resetting with my breath and making sure I can go on for more you know, for more practice. Because, you know, being able to practice your trick 10 times is not the same time as being able to practice it 20 times. So repetition matters, but also how consistent are you with that repetition? Are you just doing a repetitive action for a short amount of time, or are you doing it for a longer amount of time that's going to, you know, under a controlled environment, going to, you know, give you more fruits at the end when you know, as you continue planting these seeds, metaphorically, right? These kick flips. Because, you know, sometimes because a kickflip feels so good, you know, with just 10 at a skate park, we might think, oh, we're prepared to do it off a 10 stair. But the truth is, you can always get a bit more prepared. You can always think about what those shortcomings might be, because we get a bit comfortable. You know what I mean? We got to lean into, we got to make what's comfortable slightly uncomfortable, so that we are continuously addressing our shortcomings, and we increase our chances of actually, you know, doing this trick at a street spot, or just more consistently as we would like to. Because I don't know about you, but I've experienced many times where I go to a spot or another skate park and I can't do a go-to trick of mine, simply because I didn't have it as well as I thought. You know, I'm not as comfortable as I thought going fast, or I'm not as comfortable as I thought doing it that many times, you know. And so when I do it in a line, I gas out. It's not that I don't know the trick, it's just that I gassed out. I never considered that I can practice how conditioned I am with repetition, you know, even with a good trick I might have. Same thing with a trick like I feel like I have double trays very well, but when it comes down to doing it off of stairs or in a line, you know, it gets a bit harder because there's more factors to control. You know, it's not just doing the double tray. It's more of making sure that it's controlled and I can do it in a line. You see? So that feedback would have me, you know, approach this with a bit more intention and make sure that I'm practicing this trick under more speed, so that when I need to do this trick under more speed, I'm a bit more prepared and it's not a shortcoming that I never addressed. But having said that, this is a quick video. You know, really, you know, aside from addressing the shortcomings, it's really about making sure that you're always touching some sort of discomfort, because that's where growth and progress is going to be happening, when you're challenging yourself. Otherwise, we could become so comfortable and just stay in a repetitive cycle that, you know, limits our progression. So having said that, if you have any questions about what I talked about, or if you have or if you want to understand how you can approach this concept so that you can progress, feel free to DM me at profe.carlos on Instagram. It's 2 S's on the Carlos, and we'll talk about it there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, and yeah, have a great day.